So our position previews here on Orange and Blue today, Cecil, Lammey, and Andrew Mason. Today talking about special teams. Regularly not a topic of interest for me, Mace. Regular viewers know that. But I am fascinated by this conversation.
You might want to pay attention to special teams this year, Cece, even though I know it's not your thing. It's usually your excuse to get up and go to the fridge. But
get on Twitter.
Yeah. First of all, the guy on the left there, Jeremy Crawshaw, a draft pick, the only punter taken in the draft, and he's been given the job because there are no other punters on the roster. And he was blasting it during OTAs and minicamp. And the guy on the right's an all-pro. That's Marvin Mims Jr. So he's pretty good to begin with. And he might be in a position to contribute even more on special teams than he did last year. As a punt returner, that's where he was an all-pro. But it's on kickoff returns where we might be talking about even more from Marvin Mims Jr. this year, because the rules on kickoff returns have changed. Because last year, the quote-unquote dynamic kickoff, as the NFL likes to call it, was not nearly as dynamic as they hoped it would be. Basically, you're trying to de-incentivize kicking it in the end zone for a touchback, and they failed to de-incentivize it enough. And so now the touchbacks will be spotted at the 35-yard line. So they're hoping that will force teams to kick it more, have returners get more opportunities from that landing area there outside of the goal line, and set up more opportunities for Marvin Mims Jr. And all this is significant because the Broncos' new special teams coordinator, Darren Rizzi, is one of the people who helped create the changes to the kickoff rule to try and generate more returns in the 2025 season.
Yep, and that's where this could come in with Marvin Mims and Jaleel McLaughlin. So let's start on kickoff returns, and I'll just note, as again, Mace, I'll listen intently as you break this thing down. We're old enough to remember when starting at the 35 was like a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, they got it to the 35. What a great start to this drive.
Yeah.
And now, okay, dynamic kickoff. Let's hear about McLaughlin and Mims returning kicks together. That's fascinating.
Yeah, potentially, because you're talking about two guys back there, and the skill set of the second returner is going to matter as well. Let's actually listen to Darren Rizzi talk about that other player back there. So you're going to have two players back there in that landing area. And you know one is going to be Marvin Mims Jr. because you want to get him the opportunities. And, of course, you know, on the quote-unquote dynamic kickoff, he is as dynamic as you're going to find. But Jaleel McLaughlin could be a guy, the type of guy that you're talking about, a running back who has the skill set to be back there. Let's listen to Darren Rizzi talk about the other returner who's going to be back there and what skill set is going to be necessary.
Obviously, you know, being able to field the ball. I think because the ball is going to be in play this year a lot, you know, it may sound really fundamental, but fielding the ball is going to be critical, because I think a lot of teams are going to try to do keep away, maybe hit some line drive kicks. So getting the play started is going to be really, really important. You know, that player is obviously going to be a really good player with the ball in his hand. And that could come in a variety of ways, and a lot of shapes and sizes. It could be a downhill guy. It could be a make-you-miss guy. You know, Marvin obviously is one type of dynamic. There could be a bigger guy, some of those running backs. So we're really doing a committee approach right now. We're trying to build a stable of guys that could be back there, and we'll kind of see how that plays out there in the preseason.
So think about that, maybe not a bigger guy, but someone who can field the ball, someone who, you know, can do things with the ball in their hands, and someone who can reliably field the ball. Well, what is one aspect of Jaleel McLaughlin we often talk about is he doesn't put the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons. Yeah, he doesn't fumble the ball. Yeah, he's fumbled once in 2 years.
That'll keep you around.
Yeah.
And this is exciting for him, because not that he needs this kind of club in his bag to make the team. You and I have him kind of in pin anyway, Sharpie. but my God, what a way if you are a Blake Watson or something like Jaleel McLaughlin can, I mean, automatically step in and star. If you're a guy like Blake Watson, you need something like this.
Really, for all those running backs, this may be the way to get on the roster. How do you secure your spot on this team? It could be as that second guy back there with Marvin Mims Jr. So we talk about McLaughlin, and I'd say probably if anyone is the favorite, you'd have to say it's him. But if you're Blake Watson, if you're Tyler Bidet, probably not Aldrick Estime because he doesn't have the same open space speed as the others. But all those guys, you'd say, all right, maybe this is your chance to show something, to show some added value here. That might be the way that you get on the team. So we've talked so much about the running back position and all the players there and what they're facing. And you have to talk about the special teams component for all of them. And this may be the spot because teams are going to kick it away from Marvin Mims Jr. As talented as he is, they're going to probably try to kick it away from him. So whoever has that role, you're going to want them to be somebody who can create some dynamic plays, to go back to that word again, right? Dynamic. Because either they're going to make some plays that get you in great field position, which can set up myriad things for the offense. I mean, imagine if you're starting at the 35, the 38-yard line time after time after time, imagine what that's going to do for Bo Nix and company. Imagine what that's going to do for your scoring. Like, that was the whole thing when you created this dynamic kickoff return last year. What you were hoping is, you were hoping it was going to get scoring up because scoring had dropped since that peak season of 2020 in the COVID year, when, of course, offenses ran riot because they didn't call holding as much. And, of course, there was no crowd noise, so offenses could operate unfettered no matter where they were. And they were trying to get back to that a little bit, and didn't really happen, right? Because of other factors involved, factors that we see on defense, but also on the kickoff return, because touchbacks were not de-incentivized enough. We didn't see the field position manifest because of that. So now you're hoping that's going to change. And also you want kickoff returns in, because kickoff returns are exciting. When they're a part of the game, they are exciting. And the NFL does not want kickoff returns to go away. The part of this whole thing of, why they're trying to come up with the dynamic play, the dynamic return, the alignments that we're seeing is, they're trying to make the play safer, but keep it in the game. They don't want to go to a situation where the kickoff return is out of the game entirely. And they really don't want to go to the, the 4th and 15 type of thing that we see, like the onside kickoff type of thing. The onside kickoff replacement, the 4th and 15. They don't want to do that type of thing. They want to have a traditional, at least somewhat traditional kickoff that involves a player running up to the ball and kicking it. So all that's in play here as well.
Yeah, because the NFL, unlike other sports, like they would have changed it. Hey, just put the ball at the 30. No more kickoffs. They would have already done that. The NFL has no issues doing that. They clearly want to keep this. And the Broncos, with Darren Rizzi, I mean, you have an advantage for multiple reasons, but you have an advantage because the guy was integral in helping develop and design these new kickoff rules.
Yeah, here's a little more from Darren Rizzi on the new kickoff rule.
I don't know if this kickoff return rule is getting as much publicity as it should. I think it's really going to change the game for the entire league this year. We're going to see a dramatic increase in returns. You look back last year, if I'm not mistaken, he had single-digit kick returns, and people were just kicking touchbacks. This year, the analytics are going to tell you to put the ball in play, so I think he'll get more opportunities. I think the guy that's back there with him is going to get a lot of opportunities because they're going to try to play keep away from him as well. But he's been a great leader with our younger guys, and I'm really excited to work with him during the season.
There were 13 kickoff returns last year for the Broncos. 13.
Less than one a game.
Marvin Mims Jr. had 7. Tremon Smith had 6. Now, Marvin Mims Jr. averaged 27.7 yards a return, and Tremon Smith averaged 28.3. Pretty healthy averages on both of their parts, but
yes,
terrible. You're not even talking about one kickoff return a game. You're under 1 a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's, kickoff returns.
What's that number this year? 2 a game?
Yeah.
It's the analytics suggest incentivizing that. If you're getting it in the end zone, his average returns 28 yards.
Yeah.
Or you can put it at 35. Well, you're going to get it to him, and you're going to take it at the 25 instead of the 35.
Yeah. Man. The 30 last year did not de-incentivize it. That's basically what happened. Last year on the Broncos side of it, Will Lutz had 95 kickoffs and 73% of them were touchbacks. So basically, what last year showed is that they made the changes and they decided, yeah, you know what? We're not going to change a thing. We're just going to, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing, and we're going to keep on sending it in the end zone for touchbacks. Most teams decided not to change a thing. And it was pretty obvious. Like, as we got early in the season, I remember last year in the preseason, I was excited to see what this kickoff thing would look like, because I thought teams would kind of experiment around, fiddle around with it. And then, it was like that, like getting a Christmas gift when you were a kid, that toy that you're really excited about, and then you start playing with it, and it's a complete dud. That's what the kickoff thing was last year. I was excited to see how it would work, and then it was just a dud. It was terrible.
Yeah. It wasn't what you wanted.
So they sent it back, and they decided to try again. And we'll see. What if the 35-yard line doesn't de-incentivize it? What if they still have touchbacks?
Yeah. What do you do then?
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
The 40?
Yeah, it seems a little much, but they'll look at it and they'll examine it, and we'll see how many kickoffs are there. But if you're the Broncos, what a weapon you have.
Yeah.
You already have an all-pro returner.
Yeah, because either you're going to bring him into the game or bring someone else back there who can make plays, someone exciting into the game, or you're going to be starting in great field position at the 35-yard line. Basically, you're one quick slant and a missed tackle away from being on the other side of the 50. Boom, like in great shape. And to bring this to another area of special teams, if you go 3 and out, you've got a weapon back there who can, even if you go 3 and out quickly and only get a couple of yards, has the capability of potentially flipping the field and getting the opponent back there deep inside their 20-yard line. So another way that you can get a team off balance.
It's all 3 phases, man. And special teams is a big phase for the Broncos. Crosshaw, that weapon.
Yeah.
The roster exemption, that's only good until the start of the regular season, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the only way it would have helped the Broncos and been an addition for them is if Crosshaw were not on the 53, if you were on the practice squad. And that's not going to happen. You're not going to play roster gymnastics with him and put him on the practice squad even for the first 3 weeks of the season, and elevate him, because if they passed him through to waivers, somebody would claim him. So you're not going to play those types of games. Now, if the Broncos want to get that extra spot, they can go grab a guy after cuts and get another guy for the practice squad and get that extra player, but it won't be Crosshaw. They get the roster spot now, but in the regular season, Crosshaw is just going to be one of the 53. And he will be on the team. They called off the punter competition before it started. They had Matt Hawk, Darren Rizzi's old punter from Miami several years ago. They had him on the roster kind of as a placeholder. But even as they signed him, Rizzi was already getting to know Jeremy Crawshaw, having a couple of lunches with him around and after the pro day down at the University of Florida.
Probably, Jeremy the person, his maturity, a guy, it's not easy to come from another country and play in a sport that you've never played before. I mean, think about that. Here's a guy that, came from Australia, went to an SEC school, a top, level college program, had a ton of success. His maturity level, he's kind of beyond his years, if you will. So that was when we were kind of evaluating all of the punters in this draft, and his name came up. I really feel like his intangibles, his off-the-field stuff was A+. Now, his talent level is tremendous as well, but I really believe at that position, at the specialist position, your demeanor might be just as important as your ability, because you have to have it's a one play and done. You kind of have to have, the mentality of kind of a batter in baseball, if you will, or a golfer. You got to go on to the next swing. And I really like his level-headedness. I really like his maturity. I really like his approach. And getting to know him in the process was a big part of us drafting him. So that was pretty cool.
So you can see what he is on film and what he is watching a practice. I mean, you and I saw Crosshaw down at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
And not just saw, even if you weren't paying attention, you could hear him.
Heard it.
That was the thing. Like if you
it's like fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, you're not watching the punters cease.
No, not at all.
You heard the punts. That was the thing. And I think I called your attention to, are you hearing this? Like there was a difference. You had, when you go down to the Senior Bowl every year, and you've got two punters, right? One for each team. And usually they're the two punters, right? The two best punters in the class that go down there. Sometimes maybe you got one of the top two goes to the Shrine, but in this case, usually the top two go to the Senior Bowl. So you had James Burnett from Alabama, and Jeremy Crawshaw from Florida, and the contrast was night and day between the two. Burnett had just an okay week, and then Crosshaw went out there and it's just blasts, punt after punt after punt. And it was one of those things where, like, I saw a few of them. I heard, you hear the sound and you see a few of them. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Done.
I saw, I saw everything I needed to see from him based on also what was there from the film. And what was there from the film and there from his college production was a punter who gradually improved at Florida, certainly had the requisite strong leg, but improved at other areas in Florida. Like he wasn't a good hang time punter when he first got down there, but improved on that over the course of his time down at Florida, to the point where, as I was watching him in OTAs and minicamp, and yes, I was keeping the time on his punts, I couldn't really see yardage as well from the angles that I had on one of the days. Although one of the days I did have a good read on yardage, and you were seeing a lot of like 48, 50, 53, 55 yard punts, like consistently. But The hang times were 4.8, 5, 5.1, 5.2 consistently, which is where you want them to be. So he's got that, but he's got all the clubs in his bag. He's got the placement clubs. He was one of the best placement punters last year, in addition to having just the strong leg, which is, again, what you've been missing. The Broncos have had some placement punters, but sometimes you just want to have that guy who can just go out there and blast it. Like that's the
You can
thing.
flip the field.
Yeah. Like, okay, there are going to be times when you're back at your 15-yard line and you go 3 and out. Hey, it's going to happen. Maybe you're going to have a holding penalty or something and you're going to go nowhere. And you'd like to be able to have the type of punter where you can say, all right, Jeremy, punt it in a direction, left or right, so you can bring the sideline into play. But just beyond that, knock the ever-living crap out of the ball and kick it as far as you can. And try to get a bounce. Now, we're going to trust our coverage, and maybe there's going to be a 10-yard return or so if the guy ends up fielding it, or maybe it's going to bounce and you're going to get a bounce, they're going to be afraid to return it. But just kick it as far as you can, and if it happens to get that bounce and they're afraid to return it, then you know what? We might get that absolute field flipper of a punt. And that's the kind of thing the Broncos haven't really done and had the ability to do, and it would be, and Crosshaw has that capability to where he has a strong enough leg to where you can just tell him to grip it and rip it. And you have the potential here to where you might be able to tell him, all right, you're back at your own 15-yard line. He's going to be standing at his 1. Kick it as far as you can, and he can get that punt that can go, 70 some odd yards in the air, take a bounce, and then you might be looking at something that's got a net of like 70, 75 yards when all is said and done. Something that changes a game.
Yeah.
That's the kind of ability that he has. And the Broncos haven't had a punter like that in a long time. And that's what he possesses. The ceiling on him, I actually asked Darren Rizzi, what is Crawshaw's ceiling? Here's Rizzi's answer on that.
Oh, gosh. Listen, Jeremy's situation is never going to come back to talent. He is as talented as a punting prospect that I've ever had. Obviously, one of the reasons we drafted him, I felt very, very confident in that. He's had off to a good start. The thing with specialists, punter, kicker, snapper, returner, is consistency and having the ability to go out there and do it time and time again. But there's no doubt that talent-wise, he's certainly there.
Yeah, the consistency is going to be the thing, and that's where sometimes you might look in a game, and there may be a shank, and that's something that maybe you live with a rookie from time to time. But the high level punt, that blast when you need it, that's going to be the difference. I will say this: there was one day during OTAs, like the first punt, like he had a shank, and then like the next 10 were boom, 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 boom. Now, of course, when you're a punter, you only get one shot, right?
Right.
So you're hoping that he can get past that, and he's not going to have that moment where he goes out there and has a shank. That's why you're practicing. That's why you're trying to get past that. That's what you're trying to avoid here. But I think he's going to break through that and be somebody that hopefully is going to be around here for a long time and change what the Broncos get and expect from their punter position. I mean, you're in Denver. You're punting half your games at elevation. This team ought to have an all-pro punter at some point. It's been since 1988. Mike Horan, that was the last time the Broncos had an all-pro punter.
Wow.
Shouldn't be that long. They should not have gone 37 years since an all-pro punter. It's been a minute.
Yeah, It's been a minute, that's for sure. Before we wrap up the special team show, Mace, we do have to at least talk about Will Lutz. And then the core 4 special teamers, like we've gone on and on about like a Q Robinson.
Yes.
He's done as a rusher. Well, he's a core special teamer as a rookie. Justin Sternod's here because of his special teams ability. You got Trent Sherfield here because of his special teams ability. Like the Broncos are not using, the leftover players. Oh, I don't mean to be crass, but like the leftover players to play special teams. They're getting special team specialists that can be studs at special teams or are studs at special teams.
Sam Franklin Jr. at safety as well. They bring him in free agency. He's a special teams guy. He's a potential core 4 guy as well. And backup safety specifically is going to be one of the most interesting position competitions. And special teams is probably going to determine which among Sam Franklin, J.L. Skinner, Devin Key, even P.J. Locke, who's got a special teams background. Special teams is going to determine who ends up making the roster there, as Sean Payton pointed out.
Well, I say this, the quickest way is special teams. It's hard to be safety 3 or 4 and not be a contributor. So I think that'll be real important.
Yep. There you go. Put it out there right there. You've got to play special teams if you're going to be a reserve. Listen, when we talked about Von Miller, for example, in the offseason at edge rusher and why he wasn't a fit, part of the reason is he doesn't play special teams. And Von even admitted that back in late May, like, I don't play special teams. So he's not going to be a fit there. Whereas guys like Q Robinson, Andrea Tillman, they play special teams. So they're going to be a fit. They're going to have a role in the rotation because then they can go out there and play on teams. But I mean, Sternad's back because he plays on teams. So he has that value. Drew Sanders, an emerging reserve there who may well end up being potentially the first inside linebacker off the bench, depending on how well he progresses. That's another competition to watch. Who ends up being the primary inside backer in reserve, the first guy off the bench, whether it's Sternad or Sanders. Drew Sanders is a hellacious special teams player. We saw that even as a rookie.
Yep.
So that's part of his equation too. So
J.L. Skinner has made some standout plays on special teams where you're like, that's 34. That's Skinner. Good job, kid.
Chris Abrams-Drain, man, watching him, he might be a top level gunner. He was motoring downfield during OTAs. Like there was one play, he just shot out. He shot out like a cannon and then was right down there in the returner's face and basically forced a muff. And he was down there like lightning. So Abrams-Drain's another guy to watch there on special teams as somebody who could end up being a very good gunner. Like, but this is going to be key. All those competitions that are beneath the surface for backup spots, special teams ends up largely determining who gets those roles. So that's why you got to watch. That's why you got to watch that phase. But it will determine those spots in part because Sean Payton prizes it so much. I often say he is very much a Bill Parcells disciple. Like he didn't work for Bill Parcells until 2003, but so much of how he runs a team and his philosophy comes from Bill. And one of the key things that he learned is that special teams is a quick way to generate a turnaround. And so in 2023, he emphasized that in a big way to try to get that team from 5 wins to 8 wins. And the special teams improvement that year was profound, but it doesn't stop there. You keep on working on it. And what he's now hoping is that kind of the foundation that was built the last couple of years with Mike Westhoff coming in. And now, of course, Westhoff had the medical condition last year and he had to step away. Now you continue building on that foundation with Darren Rizzi, another guy who worked with Sean Payton with the Saints. And of course, last year was the Saints interim head coach and actually did a pretty good job in that role. Now you're kind of hoping that they take the next steps there, continue building off that foundation. But it's always something that's going to be a priority as long as Sean Payton is coaching this team. Even though I know, Cecil, you may not pay as much attention to it as I do, but Sean Payton pays attention to it. And the more ways you can win games, the better. Just because you're getting things right at quarterback with Bo Nix and you're going to be able to hopefully win plenty of games traditionally doesn't mean you don't want to have these other ways of being able to win games. The more ways you can take games, the better, right? Because Bo's going to have games where he struggles. You're going to have games where you can't run the ball effectively. You're going to have games where the defense is off. But maybe that's a game where teams picks you up because Jeremy Crawshaw drops a couple of punts inside the 10-yard line or has a field flipper, or Marvin Mims Jr. gets you a kickoff return for a touchdown, or, has a 50-yard punt return that sets you up in great field position. I mean, think about the Colts game. That was a game where a lot of things were going wrong. And one of the things that went right for you in the second half was Marvin Mims Jr. on a punt return. And you had some great blocking. I think that was a Drew Sanders block on that return, was it not?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, because you got guys who can do the job there in that phase. I mean, this is important. I get passionate talking about it because I love special teams.
I knew this show. One, I knew it was going to be 30 minutes. Two, I knew I would just be like a passenger, which is fine. But I learned a lot. Our audience learned a lot, Mace, as they do every day. And I know we've had our summer schedule, but we'll be back at the start of training camp, everyone. So we appreciate that and appreciate everyone out there for helping us out on YouTube. Mace, how can folks do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.